Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Inshallah, today's topic will be on the characteristics of the Arabic huruf, which are also called sifat. Okay, sifat is the character of the letter. So far, we were covering the makharij. Makharij is the foundation based on which the very foundation of tajweed is to know the makharij and to articulate the sound well, right? Siffat-ul-huruf adds to the beauty in the recitation, and it completes the haqq on every letter. When you recite it with the right makharij, giving it its sifat, then you're doing the haqq tilawa, right? The haqq tilawa, the complete right that you're giving every letter while you're reciting. So what is sifat? Sifat is nothing but the character of the letter, right? Just like how in human beings too, we have people who are tall, people with blonde hair, black hair, people with assertive personalities, people who are very, very timid personalities. So we are all sifat, these are all characters, the characters that contribute to the shaping of a person, right? The makharij of the person, if you look at makharij in a personal kind of way, you'll say makharij is your family name. It is from where you come. That is you from your family, from your mother and father. That's your makharij. But the character that Allah has given you becomes your sifat. The same way in letters, you have letters that have sometimes the same makharij, like two children from the same parents, right? They have the same makharij, but they are totally different in their character. So you have letters similarly, the Arabic letters, they have similar makharij, the same makharij, but they are different in characters. Some are similar, some are different. So if you look at it from that point of view, you will be able to understand what exactly I'm trying to say here. So this is the character of the letter, and this is what differentiates the letter. It also makes it different. It also makes it alike in certain ways. Okay, so the characteristics of the letters are what differentiate the letters from others that share the same articulation point. If the reciter is not applying all the characteristics, if you look at what I'm reading here, so if you follow what I'm reading along, the character, so this is what is sifat. Sifat is the character of the letter. Okay, and when you apply the sifat in your recitation, then you're giving the complete right, okay, along with the proper makhraj. So the characteristics of the letters are what differentiate the letters from others that share the same articulation point. If the reciter is not applying all the characteristics of the particular letter he's articulating, then the sound will be either like a totally different letter or will be incorrect at the very least. Like in the words, in the letters, sisters, when we look at the letters, like I give you an example, the letter ta and ta, right? Ta and ta have the same articulation point. Now you know, alhamdulillah, you've done the makhraj, right, of the letters ta and ta. You know that ta and ta have the same makhraj, right? But how are they different? Ta is thick, ta is light, right? And you know that when we do sifat, you will get to know more about these letters. So if I pronounce ta as ta, then I am not, or the other way around. If I pronounce ta as ta, then I'm not giving the ta its characteristics, its sifat, which is heaviness. Okay, there are more sifats for ta, but once I cover it, we will discuss it in detail. The same with the letter qaf and kha, right? Qa, qaf, and kha. They are very close in their articulation points. Okay, because if you remember, kha is from the top of the throat, right? And qaf is from the back of the tongue. So the articulation points are very close. And this is a very common mistake we make because we end up pronouncing qaf as kha, right? And they are totally two different letters from different articulation points, but they are close in proximity. So that's the reason why we have to be very, very careful with the way we understand. We have to have a very good grip on the makharij that will make our foundation very strong. and then build on it. Build on it by trying to apply the sifa of the letter while reciting it. So the linguistic definition of the characteristics is what serves the purpose of describing the meaning. This can be in the way of physical descriptions such as white and black, or can be abstract descriptions such as education. Okay, so how do I apply it? I can apply it, and they're saying physical description, meaning when you can see the difference between the letters. Okay, and abstract description such as what you can only feel but you can't see. That's what is the abstract description of the letter. Applied definition of the characteristics are the mode of demonstration of the letter when it occurs at its articulation point, which differentiates it from others. So, when you apply all the rules, when you apply, when you get the sound right from its makharij, and when you know the sifa of the letter, then you will be able to apply it in your recitation. Okay, let's look at how in this qira how the scholars have the qaris the qira the qaris have separated the sifat into two categories here: those that have opposites and those that do not have opposites. So sifat, that is characters of the letters that have opposites. Okay, and then there is are those letters who have exclusive characters. Okay, like let me give you an example. Like if you go into a class and you have class full of students, and you say, okay, I'm going to separate this class based on their height. Okay, everyone 5 feet and above move to the right, everyone 5 feet and below move to the left. Make a group on the left, and everyone above 5 feet make a group on the right. So here this is the physical characteristic, okay, of the person, of the person, and you're dividing them into two groups. Another example of physical characteristic is, you can say, okay, those with black hair and those with blonde hair. Okay, black hair to the right, blonde hair. So this is clear distinguish, clear differences, right, between the students here. Similarly, when you look at the Arabic huruf, how many there are? There are 29 huruf, right? 28 huruf. Some people say 28, some people say 29, but 28 or 29, there are 29 huruf, and when you're able to differentiate all of them into two categories here. And that's what means by the opposites. So how are they looking at these opposites? They're looking at these opposites based on five 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 differences. Okay, the first one, five groups. They're going to be making it, they're made it into five groups, and they're going to look at it in different five different perspectives. The first one we're going to look at is, we're going to see if the letter has air in it. Okay, if the letter has air running in it, the first group. Okay, and if it doesn't have air running in it, then it will fall into another category. It will have the opposite of the air running, which is the air, no running of air, right? So that is called the group where you look at whether there is air running in the letter, or whether there is no air. Okay, remember when I was teaching you makharij, I would always say, for every letter I covered, I would talk about running of air, running of sound, right? I would always mention that. So this is exactly what the reason why I was mentioning it was because when we cover Siffat-ul-huruf, it will make more sense. Okay, so the first group here we're going to cover is, we're going to see if the letter has air running in it along with from its makhraj, and if it doesn't have air running in it, which is the opposite, that is no air running, we'll call it the letters that are Jahari letters. Okay, so let's look at the first character. So that's the first one. The second one we will look at, okay, let me just cover this briefly, and then I will go through every sifa in detail. The second one is when you look at the strength of the letter. Okay, you look at the strength of the letter. And if you remember, when I was doing the Makharij again, we talked about strength of the letter. And what did I say? I said when the sound is stopped, When there is imprisonment of sound, the letter strength increases, right? When the letter sound is imprisoned, it increases the strength of the letter. Okay, so when you look at the sifa of strength, you have to think about one thing. The strength is the strength of of the letter is contributed by whether the sound is stopped. Okay, if the sound from the makhraj is stopped, is imprisoned, the letter becomes a strong letter. When the sound is left to run, when the sound is running, the letter becomes a weak letter. Okay, okay, it becomes a soft letter. Okay, when there is partial stopping of the sound and partial running of the sound becomes a tawassut letter. It becomes in between. It is neither strong, neither weak, or neither soft. We can say soft here. Neither strong, neither soft, but in between. That's why they called it tawassut. So we have again the category of shidda, which is strength in the sound. We have the category of rahawa, which is softness in the sound or weak sound. And we have in between, which is the category of tawassut. Okay, so we have three groups here. So the first one we'll just do these two for today. The first one we were talking about was running of air. We are dividing the Arabic huruf in two categories, the ones that have air running in them and the ones that do not have air running in them. The second way we are going to group the Arabic huruf are to see if the letter has imprisonment of sound, which means what? The sound is blocked, is imprisoned, giving its strength. So we're going to look at the sound, whether it is running or whether it is being stopped, or whether there is partial running and partial stopping of the sound. So we just do these two for today because this itself is pretty heavy. So let's look at the letters of hams. Okay, what is hams? So when they hams means whispering. Okay, to whisper the sound. So hams is to whisper. And why does hams happen? Because there is running of air. So they find it linguistically as the concealment, okay, and its applied definition. And as we all know, that the most important part is, even if you know the theory behind it, the application is the most important, right? So if you don't apply what we learn, then, and we have to work on its application. That's very, very important. The theory, you will get it by memorizing whatever you are learning. But then if you apply it, that's the best way to excel. Okay, so here the applied definition is running of the breath when pronouncing the letter. Okay, in for all the letters of hams, remember, for all the letters of hams, and we have the letters of hams here. If you look at the letters of hams, so here it is, it's given in this way. I usually do it a different way. فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ sakat. But here they have said sakata فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ. So it's up to you, whatever you feel comfortable with. This is one of the methods of remembering the 10 letters of hams. And as I said, all these letters have running of air. They have, what they have mentioned here is running of breath. So running of breath and running of air means the same. And why is there running of breath when pronouncing these letters? Because of the weakness in its origin. That is, you don't rely totally on its makhraj. Okay? It's not totally dependent on its makhraj. Like if you look at the letter, let me show you like that. If you look at the letter af, okay? If you notice in the letter fa, there is not much reliance on the makhraj, right? I'm just bringing my teeth down and close to the belly of my lower lip, and I'm saying the sound of f. Okay, but look at another. Let's look at the opposite of fa, a letter that is from the letter of Jahar, right? The letter of Jahar, like let's look at the letter of Jahar. If you notice the letter qa, okay, what's happening in qaf? You can feel the sound. You can feel the tongue touching the soft palate, right, to get the sound. So there is more reliance on the makhraj for the letter of Jahar, but there is very less reliance on the makhraj for the letters of Hams. Okay, there's a very weak reliance. Okay, this means that when any of the letters that have the characteristics of Hams, there is always going to be a flow of breath, okay, as it is pronounced. This flowing of breath will actually make is a weak character. It weakens the character of the letter. Okay. Okay. So this weakness of the letter, so hums is considered a weak character. So it when a letter has hums, it weakens the character of the letter. Okay. So this weakens the letter as running of breath, then weakens the strict reliance on its articulation points. Another thing you have to keep in mind is your vocal cords are open and they are vibrating. Okay. So the in hums, what's happening? The vocal cords are opening and there is flow of breath. Okay, look at the letter, look at the picture on the right for you to understand. Okay, you can see the vocal cords here and you can see they are open and there is flow of air. Okay, these are the letters of Hams. We look at the letters of Jahar. Okay, what are the letters of Jahar? Jahar again is the opposite. As I said, we are looking at the opposite characters, and this is again got to do with the running of air. But here, what's happening in the Jahari letters? There is no air running. Okay, hums, all the letters of hums have air running. The remaining letters, if I remove the letters of hums, فَحَثَّهُ شَخْصٌ سَكَتْ, the remaining letters are the letters of Jahr, and these letters have no air running. Okay, and if you notice, most of the letters of Qalqala will fall in the category of Jahri letters. Okay, if you notice. So opposite of hams are the letters of Jahr. And what is its definition? It's defined linguistically as the what is apparent. Apparent, what is obvious, right? Jahar is what is Jahar? What is hams? Hams is concealment. Here it is apparent. So the applied definition in Tajweed of Jahar is imprisonment of the air, imprisonment of the breath, imprisonment of air when pronouncing a letter due to its strength in its origin. That is because of its strong reliance on its makhraj. That gives the letter it gives the letter Jahar, right? It makes it more clear. Makes it more apparent. We can see then that the imprisonment of the running of breath is a strong characteristic, since the letter that does not have breath running with it relies on the articulation point more than the one that does. The letters that have Jahar are all the rest of the Arabic letters that do not have hums. So all the remaining letters, they do not, they do that all the remaining letters, when you take out the letters of hums, are the letters of Jah. Okay, now let's look at the letters of, okay, one of the letters of Jahar is the letter Lam. You know the Lam again here, there is the reliance on the articulation point here, because you see the tongue is touching, the edge of the tongue is touching the top eight teeth, right? The 8 teeth on the top. So this again is a letter of Jahar, right? And if you look at the letter of Seen on the left over here, if you see the letter Seen here, the letter Seen, where does it come from? Where does the letter Seen come from? It comes from the tip of the tongue, close to the lower plates, right? The plates of the lower incisors. So here the tongue is actually not touching. If you remember, I said the tongue is close to the plates, but it's actually not making a contact there. So the makhraj here is there is not much reliance. Okay, there is not much contact there. There's not much reliance. And that's the reason why there's not much involvement of the articulation point for it to and that's the reason why it has its hums because the air is running out through this articulation point for the letter seen, and also the vocal cords are open. Okay, I think for today this is enough. Inshallah, we will cover Shidda, inshallah, in our next session. Inshallah, Jazakillah khair.